Hello, this is just a quick walkthrough of the Higher National Modern Studies exam paper. It's always good to see what you're expected to do before we actually start looking at the content. That way, we know where the end game is. Now, in May next year, you will be sitting two papers very similar to the ones I'm just going to talk you through right now. Now, you can see for paper 1, it is 1 hour and 45 minutes, and you will have to do 3 different essays. Now, as you can clearly see here, there are 3 different sections. Section 1, Democracy in Scotland and the United Kingdom, which is worth 20 marks. Now, this section will always have 3 questions, and it will always be a 20 marker. So therefore, this one we always know is 20 marks. However, in section 2 and 3, you can see that section 2 in this year, 2019, was worth 12 marks, whereas section 3 was worth 20 marks. However, this is not actually fixed. Sections 2 and section 3s can either be 12 or 20. It doesn't really matter which one they do, they just switch it around every now and again. Now, what you can also see is section 1, there is only one area, Scotland and the United Kingdom. That's right, we'll look at Scotland and the United Kingdom, but we'll mostly look at the UK examples. However, if you have examples from Scotland, which we'll come into when we go through the content, you can also include those. Some people in Scotland just do democracy in Scotland with a little bit of the UK. We do the opposite. In section 2, you will see there's 2 sections, social inequality and crime and the law. Now, at National 5, we do crime and the law. However, at Higher, we do social inequality, just so there's not too much repeating of the same things over and over again. We'll all get bored with that sort of idea. And then in section 3, you can see it's international issues, world powers, and world issues. Now, we actually do a world issue, not a world power like we do at National 5, but we'll come into that as we go through the content, but you'll find actually doing the issues is much easier than doing the world power. Now, key things you must know, you need to write the answers clearly in the booklet you'll be given, and you must identify the question number you're attempting, otherwise you might get no marks, and of course, black or blue ink. So let's scroll down, see what you've got to do. So section 1, as I said, everyone in Scotland has to do this section. There's no choice. You can see there are 3 different questions. And you will notice that all of the 3 questions in this section are all discuss questions. Therefore, they're all looking for you to make a judgment. Now, it says here, Parliament has had little success in holding the government to account. For this one, you would obviously argue it has and it hasn't. But we'll look at all the essay structures and things as we go through the content and you learn about how to do all the skills. But just so we're very clear, in a discuss question, you are given a statement, you must argue both sides of the argument. Going down in section 2, you can see one page, it says social inequality and crime and law. Now, as I said, we do social inequality, so you'll pick one of the 2 12 markers, and you'll have to say whether you've done 2A or 2B. And you will notice that in the 12 marker, there's 2 different questions, and as we look at the essays in greater detail as the course goes on, you will answer both of these questions in a slightly different way. Going down to section 3, world issues, world powers, we do an issue. With reference to the world issue you've studied, you have to state it, just like in National 5, when you just say the world power I've studied is the USA. In the world issues, you have to say, the world issue I have studied is the lack of development in Africa, because that's a topic area we do. And you can see there are 2 different questions, and it says to what extent, which means you have to argue good and bad. So you have to argue both sides of the argument once again. And that's your paper 1. Now, it's an hour and 45 minutes. You will spend roughly around about 40 minutes on each 20 mark question, and then around about 25 minutes on a 12 marker. Now, what normally happens is the 12 marker is actually done normally in about 15 to 20 minutes, which gives you slightly more time to do the 20 markers, which need a little bit of planning. Once you've done that, you'll get a small break, and then you'll get a paper 2. Now, the paper 2 is worth 28 marks. As you can see, paper 1 is worth 52, bit strange. Then you add in the assignment, which is worth 30. That means your whole paper is actually of 110. Now, looking at paper 2, attempt all questions. There are only 3 questions in this. Again, number the 3 questions. Best thing about paper 2 is there is no knowledge needed in this paper at all. It's all skill-based. Now, those who have done National 5 will recognise a couple of the questions. And the third question is a reliability question, which is a drop-down from the Advanced Higher. But it's actually very easy to do as well. If you've never done National 5 Modern Studies, it's not an issue because we will start from scratch on how to do this question, and you'll easily catch up to speed with all the practicing that we'll be doing in class anyway. Now, What you'll notice is that the questions are done on a double page, or sometimes onto 3 pages. 3 big sources, and we'll talk about how to answer these skill questions in much greater detail when we start looking at them. But the first question is, what conclusions can be drawn about minimum unit pricing for alcohol in Scotland? It even gives you the 3 conclusions it wants you to do. And then you get an overall as well. An overall conclusion to the extent, and it gives you a statement. So you have to say maybe to a large extent, a small extent. What you can't do is a certain extent. You can do that in history, but in modern studies, a certain extent is not allowed. And that first one is worth 10 marks. The second question you can see here. Right? You are given a statement, and you have to argue how accurate that statement is. You have to give statements which says it is, and statements which says it isn't accurate, and then you give an overall again, and that one's worth 10 marks again. And the final question is a reliability question. Now, those who have done history will know about Cowpat, and you'll understand about how useful a question is and stuff. So in this one, you're going to talk about things like the author of the source. You're going to talk about the accuracy. You're going to talk about the content, reliability, and things. But you're given 3 sources. You get 2 marks for talking about why each source might or might not be useful. And at the end, you have to then say why one of them is better than the other 2. And that's worth 8 marks. Now, it's out of 28 marks. You will notice that you were given 1 hour and 15 minutes. So roughly around about 25 minutes for each question. And that's it. Once you've done that, you're finished.